I can't believe I just got back from Hong Kong and Shanghai. This was one of the most spontaneous trips I've ever done, and it was such a blast. Last week, I received my green card in the mail, and that allowed me to travel internationally. So I just literally hopped on the plane within the next 2 days to join my family on a trip that they had already pre-planned. And I'm so glad I did. The jet lag was definitely terrible because Hong Kong and Shanghai are 12 hours ahead of New York City, but it was worth it. Every single minute was worth it. I flew from New York to San Francisco, and from San Francisco, I took a direct flight to Hong Kong across the Pacific Ocean. I love both of these cities so much. I spent a lot of time here in 2018 when I was doing my study abroad in Asia, so it was really amazing to revisit both of them. Hey guys, my name is Paulina. If this is your first time on my channel, and I can't wait to tell you about my trip. My first destination was Hong Kong, and I had 2 days there with my brother. Like I mentioned, I visited Hong Kong before in 2018, and I absolutely love this city. I feel like it's a combination of New York, Los Angeles, and Miami. It has the New York vibe and the tall skyscrapers and people being very busy on the streets. Everything is very hectic, very lively. At the same time, it has the Miami climate and humidity. And it also has Los Angeles topography. It's very easy to go hiking. Me and my brother stayed on the Hong Kong Island. So Kowloon is where the mainland of Hong Kong is, and Hong Kong Island is across the bay from it. So upon arriving in Hong Kong, I just had dinner with my brother in the hotel, and then I went to bed, and the following day I woke up early and started exploring Hong Kong Island by foot. One of the fun things that I did that morning was going to Central neighborhood. It's literally called Central, and you can ride this chain of escalators from Central to mid-levels. This is like a landmark in Hong Kong, something very specific to them because the escalators are just taking you up to the steeper part of the island. I also stopped at Blue Bottle Coffee and I had some matcha and some avocado toast, and then I was just like sitting outside and sketching the streets of Hong Kong, because that's also something I used to do during my study abroad. After riding the escalators and having my matcha, I went to the Manmo Temple. I walked on the Hollywood Road, which is very busy, very touristy road, but still it is very beautiful. It's like snaking on this like steeper part of the island. And if you walk on it, you can reach the Manmo Temple, which is a Taoist temple and one of the oldest temples in Hong Kong. It's an example of like traditional Chinese vernacular architecture. It has beautiful gable roofs and has a beautiful courtyard. So once you step inside, everything is like filled with smoke because burning incense sticks is part of the culture. And it is believed that the smoke rising from the incense can reach the sky, and whatever you wish for can come to fruition. After having lunch at a Japanese restaurant with my brother, we went to what's called the Monster Building. This building is more to the east of the island, and it is quite similar to other surrounding buildings, but it gained notoriety for its very grungy look. And you can also see that it's very dense, and we've also heard that the apartments inside are tiny. And then this building was built as part of the project to accommodate all of these newcomers to Hong Kong, to accommodate as many people as possible. So it was an interesting experience, you know, visiting a building that a lot of people are actually residing in. And it almost turned into like a touristy spot. We saw a bunch of people like trying to make very Instagrammable photos in front of it. And we've also researched that like renting an apartment in this building would cost like $2,000 a month. And that blew my mind because I thought New York was expensive. So after that, we just did a little bit of shopping at one of the malls. It's called Pacific Place. We just went to Zara, and then for dinner, we met some of our friends. And then I was so jet lagged that I just like passed out. I started my second day in Hong Kong by taking the subway to Kowloon. And I'm just so in awe of the subway system in Hong Kong and in Shanghai as well. The subway is very clean, very efficient. It's very easy to navigate your way through it. It is just really top notch. I also love how they have double doors in front of the railways, so no one can actually fall onto the tracks. You have to wait for the train to arrive and then both sets of doors open. While exploring Kowloon this morning, I was just fascinated by the amount of wealth I saw in Hong Kong. First, I visited this K11 Musea shopping mall, and I saw all of the luxury brands in this beautiful building. You could see that every single interior design detail was properly thought through. The whole interior design was just immaculate. Then I walked on the waterfront and I admired the views of the Hong Kong Island across the bay. And then I went to the Canton Road, which is literally like less than a 5-minute walk from that shopping mall that I just mentioned. And I saw all of the same brands on that street as well. And there were even lines of people waiting to go into stores like Louis Vuitton or Dior. So I was like, oh wow, they need all of these stores, even though they're just literally like right next to each other. And after that, I also went to this museum called M+, which I will tell you about in a second. And next to it was another shopping mall with the same brands. And all of these shopping malls are in very close proximity to one another. So that is kind of like mind-blowing. Like, why do they need so many brand stores in every single neighborhood of Hong Kong, you know? So about M+ Museum. It's located in West Kowloon, just a little bit farther away from that waterfront I was walking on. And it's a very modern building, and it had a Picasso exhibition that I visited. And I also went to see their permanent architecture exhibition, which was super cool. I saw photographs of the walled city that existed in Kowloon and was demolished in 1994. And apparently that used to be like the densest place on earth. And the photos of it look kind of terrifying because of how dense it is. And then I also saw a preserved capsule from the Nakagin capsule tower that was demolished in Tokyo in 2022. I actually managed to see that building during my study abroad. And it actually used to be a very famous building. It used to be a landmark of the metabolist movement in architecture in the 1960s. So everyone was super upset when it got demolished, but this M+ museum preserved an actual living unit from that building. After spending some time in the museum, I went to meet my brother for lunch. We went to have lunch at the top of Mandarin Oriental at this restaurant called Manhua, and it had very traditional Chinese cuisine, very specific to Hong Kong. And when I was reading the menu, like most of the items on the menu, they had fungus as one of the ingredients of these dishes, and I was kind of like apprehensive about, you know, eating fungus. I know that mushrooms are a type of fungus, so probably it's commonplace to eat it, but I don't like mushrooms either. So for me as a vegetarian, it was difficult to find something to eat in this restaurant or in China in general. I feel like Chinese cuisine is not that vegetarian friendly. You're very limited in terms of the dishes you can eat. And they also put a lot of pork and other animal-derived ingredients into most of their dishes. So sometimes I would literally just eat some little side dishes or just a bowl of rice and a little bit of vegetables. Yeah, in terms of food, it would definitely be hard for me to live in Hong Kong or Shanghai or probably anywhere else in China. So the last thing we did in Hong Kong with my brother after having lunch, we hiked to the top of Victoria Peak. And the hike itself was very, very steep. We chose to hike via the Old Peak Road, and it has a very steep ascent. It's not that long, but it is definitely very, very steep. And it is also so humid. We were completely out of breath. But it was a very good hike. And also it was so misty, and this fog was creating this like very special ambience. It was like very mysterious. After the hike, we had dinner at the Punjab Club, an Indian restaurant. And then we just packed our things and went to bed early because the following day we were flying to Shanghai. So upon arriving in Shanghai the following day, we reunited with our parents and our little brother. And then we took a speed train into the city. And that fast train reaches the speed of 300 kilometers per hour, and it takes you into the center of Shanghai in 7 minutes. Then we made our way to the hotel. We stayed in the Shanghai Tower, which is the 3rd tallest building in the world. And our hotel's lobby was located on the 101st floor. My room was on the 87th floor, so the views were absolutely amazing. And I honestly really fell in love with this building and with this hotel. The interiors were very sophisticated, very pristine. I really enjoyed the interior of my room as well as the common areas. The only thing I'm going to mention is that we had a very hard time communicating, even with the hotel employees, because practically no one spoke English. But overall, no matter where we went, there was definitely a very pronounced language barrier. I'm also going to mention the tech stack that you should have while you're in China. First things first, you might need an eSIM because like I have an American SIM card and it was working in Shanghai, but its performance was very mediocre. Like things were not loading. I couldn't look anything up. It was very frustrating. So my brother helped me download an eSIM that was specifically for China. You should also have a VPN just in case you can't access a certain website or a certain app. And I also recommend downloading Alipay. That's the way you pay for everything in China. And you can also download an application like a map for navigation because my Google Maps was not working whatsoever. And one more thing, you can also use Alipay as an Uber service. So we spent our first evening in Shanghai going to the Bund across the river. And the Bund is a historic neighborhood with a lot of like beautifully renovated, preserved buildings. And it has a gorgeous waterfront with the views of the new Bund across the Huangpu River. And it was just so fun to be reunited with everyone, walking on the waterfront, just enjoying the beautiful views. The last thing we did that day is we had dinner at Hakkasan, which is also a Chinese restaurant, but it's more westernized, so it definitely had more vegetarian options for me. It also had a raw salad, you know, like it's very hard to find raw vegetables in China. Everything is usually cooked. So I really enjoyed having a fresh salad over there. The following day, I woke up super early. I mean, in general, I felt like a child on a Christmas morning every single day of this trip because I was so excited to be abroad. So upon waking up, I decided to go for a run and I had no idea where to go, but I thought that I might check out the waterfront on our side of the river. And it was the best decision. They have a beautiful jogging path. The landscape architecture is immaculate. They have all of these different types of plants and trees and flowers. After my run, we had a relaxing breakfast with my family in the hotel, and then we went to check out the Jing'an temple. So the Jing'an temple is a Buddhist temple with a massive statue of Buddha within it. And it also has a beautiful courtyard, has a beautiful architecture. And our tour guide told us that this is one of the oldest Buddhist temples in Shanghai. For lunch, we went to the Yuyuan garden and market. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it correctly, but this is how it's spelled. And we went to this dim sum place, which is one of the oldest like steamed bun places in Shanghai. My meal options were very limited, but everyone else seemed to really enjoy their food. And whatever I had was good as well. But my dishes amounted to pickled cabbage, sticky rice, and I also tried the dim sum with mushrooms, but I just don't like mushrooms, so it was not my thing. Another thing that I highly recommend is taking a boat tour on the river, especially at sunset. We rented a boat and all of us went to see the sunset from the boat. And as we were gliding down the river, we really enjoyed seeing the new development on the Pudong side of Shanghai, but also seeing the Bund and seeing all of the more historic buildings. And everything was just so beautifully lit up, every single facade. You could see all of the details. And then we could also enjoy the views of the Shanghai Tower where we were staying, the Oriental Pearl, which is like the most prominent landmark of Shanghai. So this boat trip was definitely one of the highlights as well. So in the evening, we had dinner in a Japanese restaurant at our hotel. And I just want to say that I enjoyed everything I saw that day. I thought that all of the neighborhoods that we saw were very clean, very well maintained. There was greenery everywhere. So I feel like Shanghai is like an urban planning dream or something, you know. On our last day in Shanghai, we went to see the car show that is held annually in Shanghai. It's called Auto Shanghai. It took us a little bit of time to get there, and it is a very massive event. There were 8 pavilions total. I feel like we could barely cover 3 of them. And I was so impressed by all of the Chinese electric vehicles. There were so many different brands. Brands like Aito, Avatar, Zeekr, Lisan, Xpeng, and others. There were so many different brands with very high-tech cars, beautiful interiors. Everything looked top-notch, and yet it was super affordable. Much more affordable than some of the Western vehicles from Europe or from the United States. So I was definitely blown away by what the car industry in China was offering. When we were there, we also checked out the cars from BMW and Mercedes and Porsche and Bentley and some other Western car makes as well. So it was really exciting to be there. So we were quite exhausted after spending like 5 to 6 hours at this exhibition. So then we just came to our hotel and had dinner at an Italian restaurant at our hotel. The only other thing I did was I went to the lobby on the 101st floor and I just had some ginger tea with pecans and I was enjoying the sunset view of Shanghai. I mean, that was our last evening there, so I just wanted to make the most of it. So that's it, guys. The next day we just flew to Arizona. This is where I am right now. And I just enjoyed every single minute of my trip to Hong Kong and Shanghai. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Let me know if you want any advice or any recommendation, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.